Hey parents, so yesterday we kicked off this new school year of student life, and I am so excited to see what God is going to do this year. So if you are new to these videos, one thing we like to do every week is shoot one of these and send it to you so that you know what we're talking about in our high school and in our middle school environments. And our hope in doing this is really just to create an opportunity for you to continue that conversation at home, for you and your students to be interacting with the same things that we're talking about here. And so we'll send you one of these videos every week to tell you what we've been talking about, and also let you know what's coming up in student life. Yesterday in middle school, we kicked off a new series called Why Am I Here? And I know that sounds kind of like a big existential question, but we're not asking why are we on this earth or something like that. The question we're asking is like, why am I here? Why am I in this room? Why am I in church? And really the whole idea behind this series is ownership. We want students to begin to take ownership of their faith. And part of that means taking ownership of why they belong to a church, why we do this whole church thing. Because many of these students are moving out of kids' life and into student life. And even for those who have been here in student life for a while, they're still in this season of life where they're shifting out of childhood and into adolescence. And a big part of that is that idea of ownership, of taking responsibility. And one thing that we want to see happen in student life, one of the very most important things, is we want students to take ownership of their faith. And so in this series, we're talking about why church matters, why we should want to be here, why we don't just want you to be here because your parents are bringing you, and that's maybe reality for a lot of them, and that's fine, but why we want you to think this matters so that when this is your choice, whether that's soon or whether that's when you're long out of high school, why you should choose church. And so over the next few weeks, we're looking at 3 answers to that question. The answer we looked at yesterday is because Jesus is worth following. I'll tell you more about that in a second. Next week, we're looking at the idea that we can't do it alone. We need other people to help us follow Jesus. And in a couple weeks from now, we're going to look at the idea that church helps equip us to follow Jesus. It gives us the right tools for the job. And so, like I said, yesterday we talked about this idea that Jesus is worth following. And the idea that we really wanted to push on here is that there is more to following Jesus than just getting into heaven when we die. Obviously, that's an important piece of the puzzle. But we want students to begin to have an imagination for what it looks like to follow Jesus and have a relationship with Jesus right here and right now. We want them to understand what it looks like to live in peace and joy and hope because they have a relationship with Jesus. And so yesterday we were just challenging students to think a little deeper, to think about what does following Jesus really mean for me here and now. And so let me encourage you to continue this conversation at home throughout this series. And one way I'd encourage you to do that is just to share with your students, why do you do this whole church thing? Why does this matter to you? We're all busy. Why do you choose to prioritize being here on a Sunday morning, giving your time and energy to the church? And then share with them too, why is following Jesus worth it to you? Yesterday in our high school environment, we began a series called Alpha. And Alpha is actually a curriculum that's designed for people who are skeptical or who may not even yet follow Jesus. And while that may not be where most of our high school students are at, we thought it would be really helpful to do this because it asks questions in a way that makes us think. And our hope is that this is going to kind of challenge our high schoolers to think outside of their preconceived notions. And so we're going to ask questions like, who is Jesus? And is this all there is to life? Or is there something more? And in doing so, again, our hope is that our students will begin to think deeper about these things that we believe and why they really matter and why they really are true. And so yesterday was kind of just an introductory session to that idea, but we're really excited to see what God is going to do as we ask these questions. This Wednesday is our first ever Student Life Big Night. These big nights are just an opportunity for our middle schoolers and high schoolers to come together for games, for worship, and for teaching. And we are really excited about these nights. They're going to be a lot of fun. And oh yeah, there's going to be Chick-fil-A there this week as well. So your students aren't going to want to miss the big nights this Wednesday, 6 to 8. Finally, as your students head back to school this week, we just want you to know we are praying for them. We are praying for you as a family, and we are excited for all that God has in store this year. Have a great week.